I'm Vinny Politan. Another tough night here. Another very, very difficult night. It's hard to understand what is going on. I mean, last night we were here talking about mass murder victims at the University of Virginia. 3 football players who were taken, 2 others that were shot. That case, difficult. We see the smiling faces of the victims taken way too young. In that case, though, there's a suspect. He's in custody. He's been arrested. We're still trying to understand the why of it, but at least there is no ongoing threat and no killer who is walking around free tonight in Virginia. But let's switch now to the University of Idaho. We've got more mass murder victims. I mean, how does this happen? How does this happen? I mean, they're in college. 2 seniors, a junior, a freshman, in off-campus housing, doing what you're supposed to be doing in college. You know, they're studying, they're in sororities, they're going out with their friends, they're getting their lives together, getting ready for the rest of their lives. And now we've got a quadruple murder. And tonight, you know, looking at that bloody, bloody crime scene, everyone is wondering what happened. What happened inside that home? How do 4 people get stabbed to death? How? And then the other question, why? But in order to answer that, you got to figure out who. Who is responsible? Who did it? Because no arrest tells me there is a mass murderer walking around tonight. And for those families of the 4 victims, this is just, I mean, your kids go away to college and, you know, they're there to get ready for the rest of their lives, not to end their lives. 2 nights in a row, or 2 nights this week, we're talking about this. This is outrageous. But let's figure out what we know so far. The police department out in Moscow, Idaho, spoke, gave us some information. Let's take a listen.
The Moscow Police Department would like to extend our condolences to all family members, friends, the University of Idaho, and the Moscow community. This was a horrible crime that took the lives of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves. This horrible crime has affected all of us, the families, the University of Idaho, our community, our country, and our officers. Agencies that are involved in this task force include Latah County Sheriff's Office, the Idaho State Police, and the Federal Bureau of Investigations. As we continue our investigation, we have learned that Ethan and Xana were at a party on campus, and Madison and Kaylee were at a downtown bar. They arrived home sometime after 1:45. If anyone in our community or across our nation has any information about these times or the victims' whereabouts, please call our tip line at 208-883-7180. The facts of the case that we know right now. We know that these homicides occurred in the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th. Around noon, Moscow officers received a call of an unconscious person. Officers discovered the bodies of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves inside the residence on King Road. The 4 were stabbed with a knife, but no weapon has been located at this time. There was no sign of forced entry into the residence. Investigators are continuing to collect evidence at the scene. Investigators are working to develop a timeline to relevant events. Autopsies are taking place today on all the victims so we can continue to gather evidence and solve the crime. Investigators are working to follow up on all leads and to identify a person of interest. Based on details of the scene, we believe this was an isolated, targeted attack on our victims. We do not have a suspect at this time, and that individual is still out there. We cannot say that there's no threat to the community, and as we have stated, please stay vigilant, report any suspicious activity, and be aware of your surroundings at all times. What we don't know, the identity and location of the suspect, the location of the knife or any clothing that was worn by the suspect. Currently, we have 25 plus investigators working this case, as well as assistance from the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Idaho State Police.
Let's bring in our special guest. Joining me tonight from Boise, Idaho, investigative reporter with the Idaho Statesman, Kevin Fixler is with us. Kevin, appreciate your time tonight. I know you're super busy out there covering this story. We've got limited information tonight. What do we know about the actual scene, the who was there, the timeline, and what exactly could have happened here? What are you learning? What are people saying?
Well, I'll tell you, the first thing we really learned from the press conference tonight is that there's really a lot that we don't know. And it's not only the public, but it's also police and the FBI who are assisting on the case. We learned tonight, among the details, that there were other roommates who actually were at the home at the time of the incident. We had previously learned from the mayor of Moscow that the incident occurred between roughly 3 and 4 a.m. And also tonight we learned, you saw in that clip, that the two separate parties of two, the boyfriend and girlfriend, and also the two young women, were at separate events and then arrived back to the home about 1:45 is what police estimate. We also learned that there is no suspect at this point. We have learned that it is specifically a knife that the police are looking for. But you know, that follows a day after where police would only divulge that they were looking for some sort of edged weapon, was the terminology used. So still a lot of details we still really don't know, and police are asking the community for help.
How about the campus tonight? Are people terrified? Are people scared? Are people locking their doors? Or are they leaving town?
I have a colleague up there, Angela Palermo, who's been reporting over the last few days, and she's described that a lot of people are getting out of town. We're obviously headed into the Thanksgiving break, and a lot of classes have been canceled. Tonight was supposed to be the scheduled vigil at the campus, but that actually was postponed due to the university recognizing that many were not in attendance. They would not be in attendance because they're out of town. Many people are scared. Not only us, but many news outlets have interviewed those who are still in the community, and they're very concerned.
Is there, you know, we look at the people involved here, you know, they're regular college students, and I read what the president released about him, saying, you know, the young man, Ethan, he's a freshman, a junior, 2 seniors. Was there anything unusual going on in their lives, at the school, anything other than just living their normal college lives?
You know, we previously asked police if any of these 4 individuals were known to them for any particular reason, and they did not give us any sort of indication that they were. So we actually still don't have a lot of information about that, whether or not they had run into somebody maybe at these individual parties, or had beef with someone in the neighborhood, or maybe they were followed home. There was a question posed at the press conference about whether police were reviewing social media, any sort of video, or any other research they're doing in order to determine, you know, who would have this in mind, who would have planned this. Was this a random attack? Although police say they believe it was isolated and targeted, and yet have not really provided any sort of justification about that, and why the community should feel safe tonight.
And the area where their home is versus the campus versus where they were at the party, where they were at the bar? Do we know if they were walking back or driving back or Ubering back? Was there any indication one way or the other, just in terms of the movement that night and how they arrived back home and how far away they were?
Police tonight actually did not speak to that during the press conference. And I should note that this is day 4 of this investigation. The police chief did acknowledge that perhaps he should have had this press conference a day or two ago, because many in the community, including the student body, have called for more information, more transparency about the situation. But as police said, they're trying actually still to piece together a timeline about the movements, and they did not speak specifically about whether or not the couple and the other 2 girls were in a car, whether they walked back. There was that video shown outside of a food truck, but it's not clear how they got home after that.
All right, we're going to get to that food truck video in our next segment, but Kevin Fixler still with us. Let's bring in the rest of our guests. Joining me tonight in Jacksonville, Alabama, professor of forensics at Jacksonville State University, former senior investigator for the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office, and the host of the very popular Body Bags podcast. Joseph Scott Morgan is with us. In Los Angeles, California, retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon, and in Chicago, Illinois, private investigator Erica Morse. Joseph Scott Morgan, let me start with you. There's a lot of questions I have for everyone tonight, but I want to start here. How do 4 people get murdered with some sort of knife or edged instrument? To me, 4 people, does that mean we're looking for more than one suspect? And what would this crime scene indicate that it was isolated and targeted?
Yeah, first blush, I thought, when I first heard this crime come up, I was thinking, how in the world do you corral 4 people with merely a knife, unless you have perhaps someone else that may have been assisting in controlling the individuals, or was somebody kind of hidden away in the residence and waited for them to return so that they could take them out systematically. The crime scene itself is going to reveal quite a bit. As stated earlier, there is what appears to be, and what I have heard at least, be a copious amount of blood. And when you have this much blood evidence, it is almost impossible for the perpetrator, particularly when you're talking about an edged weapon. Remember, police chief said just a moment ago, he did confirm something. They'd only said edged weapon was used, but he did in fact say that these victims were stabbed. This is not a cutting event. This is actually stabbing. You cannot get out of that environment with so much blood that it does not course over onto the perpetrator's clothing, their hands, their face, and potentially their shoes. I'm really wondering if maybe they have some shoe prints inside of the house, because this would in fact be a horrible scene and very complicated to work. We still don't know about the placement or distribution of the bodies in the residence. All we know is, I think they said that the male was separate in an earlier report from the females, but we don't know about specific distribution, distance, all of that sort of thing. And also, was there any signs of struggle inside of the residence?
Bobby Chacon, we heard Moscow police talk about the number of people who are part of this investigation, including the FBI. So how is that going to change things now? The FBI is involved here. What will their role be in all of this?
Well, several-fold, actually. They probably have forensic people on scene analyzing that crime scene. Like the doc said, they can gain a lot of information on the perpetrators from the crime scene. So our evidence response team unit can lend assistance there. They could have the profiling unit involved already out of Quantico. Just manpower in general. They probably have the social media task force that the FBI runs, scouring. The social media has probably been completely scoured by now. They're looking at who likes their photos, who makes comments, things like that, and what times those likes came in. So all of that is being worked through their social media. I'm sure with a fine-tooth comb, their social media is being looked at, and probably has already. So there's on multiple fronts, the FBI is probably aiding and assisting.
All right, Joseph Scott Morgan, Bobby Chacon, Erica Moore staying with us. Kevin Fixler, appreciate your time, your insight tonight. We're going to be calling you a lot. I hope you can come back on and keep us updated as to what's happening out there in Idaho. As I said, we've got more on this coming up. In the meantime, coming up next hour. In Waukesha, Wisconsin, sentencing day for mass murderer Darrell Brooks, who crashed his SUV into last year's Waukesha Christmas parade. In court today, Brooks showing emotion, not in reaction to the words of the victims, but instead reacting to people talking about him.
I know who I am. God knows who I am.
Everybody was there, and we had dinner. Next thing you know, the last 2 bullets went directly in my head.
These are the stories
It was a crime of passion.
of the victims killed
How could this have happened?
by someone they knew.
I really screwed up.
Someone they knew with Tamron Hall. Thanksgiving Marathon begins Thanksgiving Day, 11:10 Central. Only on Court 49 now.
We obtained a copy of Twitch video, and family members of the Gonsalves family were able to identify Maddie and Kaylee in those videos at a food truck ordering food. Is the police department, our investigators, aware of that video, and has it helped put together that timeline?
We are aware of that video, and it has helped. It gives us a time and space where we know that 2 of our victims were, and that helps us a ton, and we'll continue to follow up all leads that we can and continue to gather those.
There you hear the chief talking about a Twitch video in the case out of the University of Idaho. We've got that video. It's at a food truck. So a food truck has these cameras and they just stream all night long. They've been doing it for years. So I'm going to take a look at that. Still with us, Joseph Scott Morgan, Bobby Chacon, and Erica Morse. Erica, I want you to help me kind of look at this video and tell me if you see anything significant here. And we begin with the first part of the video, and we've shortened it to a certain extent, but you see Madison and Kaylee, there they are arriving at the food truck. Anything significant in this initial video that you notice?
Does look over, notices the girls. They are cute girls. Other than that, I mean, I don't see anything that jumps out. We don't have a lot to work with at this point. They seem to be by themselves, and other people surrounding them seem to be a little bit more gregarious, like maybe they know each other.
Yeah, and I'd be very curious as to how close they are to home and how they got from this food truck back to the house where they ended up getting murdered, several hours later. Let's take a look now. You mentioned the guy with the cap. Let's watch the next part of the video where they seem to interact with him a little bit. Let's watch that part. Do we have that second video? Oh, this is the second video. Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, it seems to me though, Erica, everyone that's in this video is a potential witness.
Yes, absolutely. You have to, one of the reasons they have 25 investigators on this case is because they're running 5 separate investigations. They're running the primary investigation and then 4 separate investigations on victimology of each individual victim. Every person in that food truck area is a witness. Every person in their life, in their orbit right now, is a person of interest until they are ruled in or ruled out. Yes, you definitely have to start here because this took place within a few hours of the crime. I'm also very concerned about the fact that there was no forced entry. Was there somebody that they knew that showed up, or did someone follow them directly home and force their way in while the door was open?
And again, in this part, we see the guy who was standing by him before. There you see the girls. They kind of are looking that direction. They're probably waiting for their food, getting their food. Mm-hmm. And let's get to that final video where we will. They're taking selfies. I mean, there's nothing unusual going on that night. Nothing.
No.
This
Not
is
out
so
of the
typical.
ordinary that jumps out. It is.
Now, this guy pointed at him as they're walking away. The way I take that is a couple of guys see a couple of cute girls and all of a sudden they're gone. But let's watch him walk in a seemingly different direction away from the girls. But, you know, maybe he was, you know, like any young man. I don't know. Bobby Chacon, you see anything in the video of significance?
Well, I mean, just that young man that you're highlighting there, he could have been walking to his car that was, you know, to the right, and they crossed the street to the left. You know, like you said, you really want to know how they got home. He's, you know, he puts his hand up like, oh, there they go. And so and he immediately leaves. I mean, you can tell, that's what really concerned me, the immediacy of him leaving. They're all hanging around, nothing's urgent. And then all of a sudden, as soon as the two girls leave, he leaves. That really stuck out to me.
I think that's someone they would like to speak to. Let's take a listen to more of the chief here, referencing the roommates in the house.
Just to follow up on what she asked, so the other two roommates were there at the time of the attack?
All the information we have from our investigation is that, yes, they were.
Okay, but they were unhurt.
That is correct.
So is there any explanation as to why it took so long then for someone to call 911? You have surviving witnesses to an incident at 3 or 4 in the morning, and the 911 call didn't come until noon?
I don't think I ever said that they were witnesses. I said they were there. So, you know, we don't know why that call came in at noon and not in the middle of the night. Would have we loved for that to have happened? Yes, but that's not how it took place. So that's why we're investigating everything still to try to pull all the pieces together.
Were they one of the people, were they the 911 caller?
At this point in time, I'm not going to divulge who our 911 caller is, just because I want to keep the integrity of the investigation at this point.
Joseph Scott Morgan, let's talk about the roommates. Maybe they weren't home, and then they came home at noon. Always possible. But if they're in that house and there's 4 people being stabbed to death, it didn't look like a mansion to me. Do you think they would hear something, or could you sleep through it if you're maybe under the influence of alcohol? I don't know. What are you thinking when you hear that there were 2 other roommates in the house?
Yeah, well, I mean, if someone's inebriated, it all depends on what level they're inebriated, certainly. But I have to tell you, Vin, with this kind of trauma, there will be sounds. You take that to the bank, guarantee it. And particularly, you know, maybe one person won't make a noise, but you're talking about 4 individuals that are subjected to one of the most painful ways to die that is known to man, where you're actually stabbing them, I would assume, multiple times over and over again. Someone will let out a noise. So that's a very curious question that you asked. How could this have gone unnoticed? Was it, were they sequestered somewhere? You know, and this brings us back to this idea of perhaps the corralling of the individuals. And right now, we don't know enough about the distribution of the remains in the house. And that's going to paint a much different picture once we get our hands on that. Either way, it's a horrific scene, and I can almost guarantee you there is going to be just copious amounts of physical evidence left behind, particularly trace evidence.
And we're going to continue to follow this story. I appreciate everyone coming on tonight. I hope you'll come back as we continue our coverage of this in the days ahead, and hopefully at some point they can figure out what happened and who is responsible and make the arrest or arrests. Joseph Scott Morgan, Bobby Chacon, Erica Morse, thank you all so much.